All right, good. So I think we can now start. Hey, Mr. Mark, how you doing? What's up? Olaide. Okay, now, so we now have a full house. Now I now feel at home. Okay, guys. All right, so I'm just going to talk about how this session is going to go, basically. So I have what we call icebreaker sessions. Don't worry, all panelists, you can turn on your audios. You can turn off your audios. Don't worry, all panelists, you can turn off your audios. Because it's going to be more of an interactive session, basically. As long as you don't have noise in the background, you can turn off your audios. So I have what we call various icebreaker sessions. So the idea of the icebreaker sessions is to set the ball rolling for the Q&A. So what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be asking all our panelists one or two questions that I already have, right? So what should I put? I already have to get them into the mood, basically. So while they are answering those questions, please, attendees, ensure that what you drop your questions at the Q&A session. So like I said, the idea of is Unscripted is that what you can ask them with any question whatsoever, even questions as ridiculous as how many children do they have, what did they eat this morning, questions as ridiculous as who is their girlfriend, if they have any girlfriend, for the people that are not married here. So I've told them that they are ready for any question whatsoever. How much did they make this month in their businesses? They have to answer you. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? So our facilitators are ready to answer any question. They are laughing. So I've given them heads up, you have whatsoever. But I'm going to start basically with what we call icebreaker questions. And the idea of the icebreaker questions is just to set the ball rolling. So while I'm asking the icebreaker questions, because the idea of is Unscripted is for you. We created this event was for you. If you have any question, you have any problem with any codes for tech guys, if you're having any problem with how to build a client, please ask those questions. There is a Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. Put those questions there and I'm going to throw it out to our facilitators. I'm going to kickstart with one or two questions at the moment. And as those questions are going around, please guys, let us start asking our questions right away. Once we start asking our questions at the Q&A session or the chat section, I'm going to be queuing it up for our speakers. All right, so like I was saying, I've introduced Mr. Samson. Mr. Samson is a creative entrepreneur that I know that has been in the business for over 20 years. I call him my mentor personally because he taught me graphics, basically, and he's one of the people he's one of my go-to people when it comes to what creatives, basically. He's a natural when it comes to design, and I expect that he's going to be available to answer all our questions for us. Now, to my top left, we have Olaide. Olaide works for Andela as a senior developer. She is very, very versatile in JavaScript, C++, C#, and many other programming language to the best of my knowledge. Are you getting me now? One of the few programmers I respect in my network. One of the very, very few programmers I respect what's in my network. And she's a female. That even makes me dove my heart because that's a she's a male-dominated industry. So to my bottom, I have Mr. Ben Enahoro. We've known since university. He studied computer science. And he's someone that I respect so much. He's the CEO of Enbelo and one of the it's a brand and print production company that I respect their work. He has a touch for excellence and he has worked with various clientele. I don't want to mention his clientele here for security reasons, basically, but it's someone that I respect so much that I've seen scale up his industries over the years so that guys will not come and visit here in the middle of the night. I'm just joking anyway. So Yemi Tula, bottom left, we attended the same university too. Since I've known Yemi Tula as a baby, he has been coding. I get what I'm saying right now. I respect him as a programmer. You know, when we're in university, it's one of those few guys that used to teach us tutorials in the university and even outside the university. I've seen him program. He's good in JavaScript. He's good in PHP, MySQL, HTML, CSS, C++, Java. I respect him so much as a programmer. And I've seen his company evolve over the years. When it comes to mobile app development, both native and Ionic or hybrid, I've seen him work on it. Then to my bottom right, Mr. Mark. Mr. Mark is a brother from another mother. We also attended the same university, someone I respect so much. We also studied computer science together. And he's one of the few programmers I've seen code over the years too. So if you have any tech problem, please, you can meet him. He used to work for Andela, but right now he's working for another company. And I respect him because he's very intelligent. And he's also one of the people that used to teach me tutorial in the university too. So I respect him as a programmer. So I've brought in these people together because I've seen them grow and evolve over the years. Hello, Mark, good to see you. I've seen them grow and evolve over the years. And each and every one of them have a minimum, to the best of my knowledge, over 10 years in the industry. So I believe that whatever question we have, they've been there, they've done it before, and they will be able to attend to any questions that we have. All right, okay, I can see you dancing over there when I was talking about Olaide's profile. I don't understand why it's only Olaide profile you're dancing with for, but I understand. You're a lady, you're a lady, you're a lady. You're rooting for the ladies in the group, right? It's okay, well done. We'll see in camera after this session. All right, so let's get started with our question. So our first question is going to Mr. Ben Enahoro. Mr. Ben Enahoro, the first question I'm going to be throwing to you is, how do you think the post-COVID has changed the creative industry in Nigeria? How do you think post-COVID has changed the creative industry in Nigeria? Mr. Samson, get ready. The next question is coming to you. Mr. Samson, get ready. All right, Ben. Mr. Ben, how do you feel? Because you know one thing that COVID has done, it has evolved our industry. So how do you think it has changed the creative space in Nigeria post-COVID?
All right. Well, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, so these are my thoughts, you know, concerning that. Well, COVID has changed a lot of things in the world, not just in Nigeria. That's changed everything from business, you know, to economy, to politics, to COVID has disrupted the world, you know. So now bringing it home and trying to narrow it down to the creative space, you know, and saying how has COVID changed stuff in Nigeria? First of all, you know, the creative business is a very, very wide business, right? You know, where you have people playing in different spaces and in different things. Yes, it has impacted. It has impacted a lot, positively and negatively in the creative business. But it's tricky because there's a lot of conversation going on around this post-COVID post-COVID era and the way it has impacted. While some are of the idea that it has impacted positively, you know, there's a high demand in creative works and with a high demand with designers, and people are getting more engagements, and people are getting a whole lot more, business is booming in the creative space. Others are of the opinion that that creative business have been affected negatively. Why? Because of the impact of business in itself and the fact that people don't have so much money to spend. A lot of people have gotten very, very easier ways to do certain things, and some people get to not pay premium on design anymore, right? You know, and they say things like, now we find very easy ways to get our designs done, our businesses run. We're now looking for ways to the DIY applications that we can take advantage of, you know, and several conversations like that, you know. So, well, I have weighed both of them and also try to see how it impacts on me as a person and, you know, in our business. And I can say that yes, and yes, the school of thoughts on both ends are actually correct, you know, and yes, there's a high skill demand for certain things in the creative industry, and at the same time, you know, a lot of people are going out of job. But it has to do a whole lot more with the way your business was positioned before COVID, right? You know, there's no way, you know, I hear there's been a lot of rise in expert advice, you know, and everybody is talking about recommendations of what businesses should do now and after COVID. You need to do this, you need to do that. Now, the truth is that for a lot of all this advice, I try to filter a whole lot of them, and I ask, you know, who is advising? You know, what was your business like before COVID, and what was your revenue like? Who do you do business with? Are you a freelancer? Are you somebody that are you an entrepreneur that runs a business on a particular scale, right? So that I can actually know exactly how to filter that information and know how it applies to me. Because if you don't know where you are as a business, you know, it's difficult to understand the recommendations to take, you know, in the post-COVID era, or what exactly you should be doing now. You know, on the scale of, if, for instance, the business of the creative, the creative industry has been impacted, on the scale of 1 to 10, you have people that are operating on a 10 and on a 9. You have people that have the experience, you know, they have the clientele, you know, they have the track record. Then you have people playing on the spaces of the one and two, the freelancers, you know, the people that are doing small businesses, the people that are just generally trying to make ends meet with the creative business. In fact, guess what? The people on the 10 and the 9 and the 8, you know, will still get business. Do you understand? Right? They will still get engagements, you know, because based on their level of expertise, based on their level of experience, you know. So the people that will be impacted more will be people that are operating on the lower scale, right? So it depends on who you are as a person and where you are as a business, right? But the post-COVID, the entire COVID-19 season has had great impact on business. We cannot deny it. Anybody that tries to deny it is just living in denial. It has had great impact in business, right? You know, but for you to really understand it, you know, I think you need to come from the perspective of where you are as a business, where you were as a business before COVID, you know, and the things, you know, that your clientele base and the things that you're exposed to, your level of experience, you know, the kind of clients you used to serve, you know, and that in itself, you know, is different for different people, right? So it's a way of saying there's no one size fits all model when it comes to evaluating the impact of COVID. There's no direction to say this is the impact of COVID on the creative business. You know, it has to do with the way individual businesses are set up, and the creative industry is big, is wide. You know, you have people playing on the web space, you have people playing on the mobile app space. You know, the creative business is big. You know, so I like to say it this way so that people don't take a general evaluation, you know, and say okay, from the mouth of these guys, this is exactly how COVID has impacted on business in Nigeria. We can look at it in different perspectives. That's my humble opinion.
All right, okay, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. That's a good one. Thank you so much. So what I can take from it is that it has affected positive or negative, but as creative entrepreneur, whether positive or negative, we have to look at what we have done wrongly. You understand what I'm saying right now, and how to leverage on those wrong things to get it better. Okay, so we're going to be taking 2 creatives, then 2 texts, then creatives text. So that's what I think can be balanced basically. All right, so please guys, like I said earlier on, for attendees, let's start dropping our question in the chat section or the Q&A session, please. We are still waiting for more questions. These icebreaker questions are just to settle everybody up in the move. Now, Mr. Samson, before I ask you your own question, sorry about that. I want to move to Mr. Yemi to ask him this question, and that's because his question is a bit similar to that of Mr. Ben. Mr. Yemi Tula, as a tech professional, how do you feel that COVID has affected or changed the tech space in Nigeria, basically? Post-COVID, how has the COVID affected and changed the tech space in Nigeria, so that we can have a balance of the creative space and also the tech space? Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Demola. Hello, everybody. Thanks for putting this together and for the opportunity to, you know, contribute. Okay, so, you know, just like Ben said, this is something that affects different people in different ways. But for us in tech, let me talk from my own perspective, in terms of what I've seen and how I've observed the whole space, considering all of this COVID thing. So the first area where COVID-19 has really impacted on tech businesses is remote work. You know, a lot of people, remote work is more, you know, acceptable in the tech space. People in the tech space understand the need for remote work more, and they do it more. You know, in fact, when COVID started, a lot of people that some of people work in companies that are some of the clients, my client companies, companies that are my clients. You know, they'll tell me that, Yemi, all of us are working remote now. We are like you guys now. So they assume that tech people is naturally, but you'll be surprised that even in the tech space, remote work was frowned at. There are a lot of guys that, you know, should I say I mentor, programmers that I know, maybe they've worked with me before or I've trained before. And they are telling me that, oh, I started work at the company and I said, can I do remote, 3 days remote, 2 days remote out of the week? And they said no. You know, programmers, I mean tech people in the tech space, even in the tech space, remote work was not as acceptable as, you know, as it was, as it is now. You know, maybe COVID came in, everybody was forced, you know, 2 months of lockdown, about 2 months of total lockdown, forced everybody to do remote. And that now brought, you know, kind of brought it home that, hey, it is possible to actually work remotely. And so there's more acceptance of remote work in the tech. And that's something, a very strong positive for tech people, because most tech people, especially programmers, really like to work remotely. We don't like to get on the road every single day to go to an office very far away. Remote tech people don't really like that kind of stuff, most tech people. So don't let me generalize. So, you know, because of COVID, that's a kind of positive for tech people, that you can work from anywhere. And every companies are starting to accept now, tech companies and companies that hire tech people are starting to accept that you can work from anywhere, as long as you have the required temperament and you have the required tools and all of that. So that's the first major impact that COVID has had in the tech space. Then another thing is, definitely there's a higher demand for e-learning and e-collaboration tools more than ever before. I think many small businesses or small companies or small teams now have that add, like just like Ben said before, your position before COVID matters. People that add e-learning tools, tools for school portals and blah, 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 or any collaboration tools, it's just like they hit a gold mine when COVID came, you know, so because immediately they just deployed and threw it into the market, and everybody starting to look for, hey, how do we survive? What do you have for us? What are the solutions we can use to get over this? So I think that's a kind of boom for tech, because people are asking for solutions. People are like, what is this? So, you know, COVID brought that kind of advantage. That high demand for e-learning and e-collaboration tools is there. And then also, it now brought a new challenge in the sense that, you know, in the tech space, there are sort of people who can easily, before, you could wiggle yourself into a job, get a job, and show up at work. Because here in Nigeria, especially here in Nigeria, some people just show up at work. Showing up at work can be enough for you to get paid. But now that everybody has to really, really demonstrate their skills, because showing up at work is
and your KPIs.
You know, showing up at work is no longer enough. You know, so we might not see you for days. So you have to show that you are working. Every tech company or every tech space has to adjust to that. You have to show that you're working. You can't just sit down and say, well, I came to work from Monday to Friday, so pay me. No, it's not like that anymore. So that's impacted on the tech space. That also opened up the tech space for international engagements more than before. You know, because now remote work is more acceptable, the international barriers are sort of down, and then because of that, people can now work across borders more. So you now have opportunity. See, if you watch the tech space over the past 2 months, you see a lot of people saying that they got jobs in international companies. A lot of people getting jobs across borders. It's happening a lot now. And so that's something that, and I think going forward is really going to increase over the next 1 year, 2 years. There's going to be a lot of international employment, because people will now see that let's employ across the world. There's no reason for us not to employ you anymore, because everybody's working online anyway. So why can't we employ somebody in Nigeria? Why can't we have a company in Nigeria and employ somebody in France? So, you know, teams are now kind of international. You have those international borders are down, and because of COVID. So those are the impacts that that I observed that COVID had, among others, you know. So, but particularly for tech people, these are the things that I feel the major impacts that COVID has had in tech space.
That's beautiful. So for tech professionals that are on these particular Q&A sessions, you need to take advantage of it. People are now beginning to accept. There's now a global connectivity when it comes to collection of jobs. So please, you can now work with more clients globally since everybody are working online. That's a good takeaway. All right. Okay, so I'm going to move to Mr. Samson. Someone has asked a question. So after Mr. Samson answers this question, I'm going to throw this question to anybody that wants to answer it. All right. So please, attendees, please, we need to drop our questions. This session was created for you to drop whatever thing is bothering your heart, whatever challenge you're facing at the moment. So while I give the icebreaker questions, please drop your question at the Q&A. You see a Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom. If you're using a mobile phone, it's going to be one of the options that you're going to have access to. So Mr. Samson, one of the major problems creative have is how to build their clients. What advice will you give creatives as regards this? One of the major problem creative have is how to build their clients. What advice will you give creatives as regards this? Because most of us, we see our services as more of talent and skills. So how do we build our clients? What advice will you give creatives about this? Most creatives, when they come to me, is their problem. How do I build clients?
Thank you so much for having me. I see this as a privilege. Obviously, you have a lot of options. You still decide to choose me. Thank you so much for everything. I want to thank all the panelists who have spoken and the others that will still speak. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. How do you get clients? If I understand, I believe that's the question.
How do you build your clients? How do you build your clients?
How do you build clients? Thank you so much. First of all, you have to understand your type of skill. What can you offer? People are looking for value. People are looking for value. You know, what can you offer? Then you need to quickly understand. You have to try and determine your type of client, the people you will love to serve. And when you serve them, you need to, put at the back of your mind that you need to be value oriented. So how do you build this client? Number one, your type of relationship. I tell people, if you are starting, try and start with people you know, your family, your relations, the church where you worship, your mosque. The people are really close to you who can trust you for a start. And for a start, usually you may not get a lot of money. Once you prioritize money at the beginning, you are likely not to get as much as you are looking for. So you start with the people you know at a lower fee. What you are trying to do is to get something they call like brand trust. You must first of all start proving that you are able to deliver on the basic things you are getting. Now, once you start delivering on your basic things, you can start moving up gradually. How do you get more clients? Of course, social media is a very good place now. If you are in creative, even if you are in tech, because I do a bit of both. I'm not too much of tech. I do a bit of tech. I mean, you must know how to sell yourself. Not until maybe late last year or this year, it's funny, I started using WhatsApp status. I've never used it. It has always been there. And I've never checked it. I didn't even know that it was existing. Somebody spoke about it. I said, what is that? So I decided to check it out. And I realized that people use it for a lot of funny stuff. And I sat down one day and I told myself, you could use this thing for your advantage. Instead of doing only funny stuff, putting videos of funny movies, why don't you post your work? And I was shocked at the response and at the number of people who started contacting me. That is going out of my normal client list that I have built over the years, because the truth is that it takes time to build clients, especially when you want them to trust you. You have to have delivered over and over, and also try to improve on your delivery. Once they notice that you understand new trend, you can also solve problems, because really people talk about software, people talk about, I'm a graphic artist, I'm a web designer, and I always say that more than all that, people want you to solve a problem. Your client wants to paint a problem and is looking for somebody who can solve that problem. I'm sure Demola can bear me witness. Every time I don't know, maybe I should say I'm lucky to have this special type of clients who are just looking for one crazy solution. And by the time I start calling everybody Demola Alpha, have you done something like this before? Everybody tells me no. And I'm like, okay, now I'm in trouble again. they want another type of, so you need to be solution oriented. I just branched into that because I remember I was trying to talk about you taking advantage of social media.
social media across board. Instead of just using all of them for jokes, all of them to post only funny videos. I mean, just take few of them and be serious. For example, after some time, I told myself, I'm going to be serious with my Instagram and let me see what it will bring. I will be serious with my WhatsApp status and see what it will bring. And I'm shocked. The response was very good. So let me just do a quick recap on my point. Number one, start very small. Start with the people you know. Start with the people you know. Make sure you increase your result and value addition. The truth is that once you serve them well, they start introducing you to other people. People are like networks. Everybody is interconnected. If you serve one person well, they will talk to you about 10 people. Out of the 10 people, you may eventually get 2 out of it. You get 2, you are lucky. You start well, they do
All right. Mr. Samson, I think your network is a bit slow right now. Mr. Samson, I think your network is a bit slow.
It continues like that. Secondly, it takes time. It might that it build gradually. Can you hear me? Okay, I think build with the people you know first. Take advantage of your social media. Thirdly, understand that people are looking for other people who can solve problems. They are not looking for people who can use CorelDRAW, Photoshop, InDesign, all those things. What the client actually wants is, can you solve this problem? If you like, use Microsoft Word to get it done. If you are a programmer, if you like, use ordinary Notepad. Just solve this problem, and the client is ready to stick with you. Finally, understand value addition. Value addition goes beyond you just delivering your work alone. It extends to you following up on your client and say, how you doing, ma? It's been a while I heard from you. Everything is not money. If you think that you only talk about money to your clients and you don't know value addition and value creation, they may not take you serious. And finally, sharpen up on your skills. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, thanks. So thank you very much, Sas. All right. Okay. So while I ask, so I'm going to be going to some of the questions right now. I'm still going to be going through the icebreaker questions, but please attendees, let's get our questions ready. It's very important. So we have 2 questions from the attendees at the moment. I promise you guys that we're going to be running this up. It's just going to be a 1-hour session. So don't worry. We are just going to be here for 1 hour. We won't take too much of your time. Exactly 1 hour. Once it's 1 hour, we're going to be running up so far. And we're going to be continuing the conversation on the group. Okay, so let's continue. Mr. Opeoluwa asked this question, and it's a very funny question. It's like everywhere is dry. What do we do as upcoming creative entrepreneurs to start up our game? Or what do we need to do to start getting job being a freelancer? And it's being sincere. He said, it is like everywhere is dry. Are you getting me now? What do we do as upcoming creative entrepreneurs to step up our game, or what do we do to start getting job being a freelancer? Olaide, after I take the next question, I'm going to be coming with you with one of the icebreakers, so get ready. So I believe that's for Mr. Samson and Ben. I'm going to repeat again. Mr. Opeoluwa is asking Shodipe, it is like everywhere is dry. What do we do as upcoming creative entrepreneurs to step up our game, or what do we do to start getting jobs being a freelancer? And I'm sure he's speaking from his heart. And a lot of attendees are also going through this same problem. So let me start from Mr. Ben, then I'll go to Mr. Samson. Ben.
All right. Should I allow my guest start or?
No. You start first.
All right. Right. I think we said a few things about this already. Right. Now, one of the questions I would have asked this person personally is, what was business like before COVID? Right? What was your income flow like before COVID? How many jobs do you get in a month? And what kind of jobs do you get? Who do you solve problems for? Right? If you can tell me all that, then I can easily answer you why everywhere is dry. Because everywhere, like I said, everybody has been impacted, right? But like I described, people at the lower end of the ladder in terms of experience, skill, expertise, and problem solving will be impacted more than those that are at the higher level, right? I also have experienced a serious, a rapid drop, in the number of engagements, number of jobs, and all that. But the kind of decisions that I am taking now and the kind of things I am doing will probably be different from what I'll be advising someone like him to do, depending on his level. But what I would say is this: Mr. Samson mentioned a few things.
He's an upcoming entrepreneur. Sorry for cutting. He's an upcoming entrepreneur and is a freelancer. So he said step up our game.
Okay.
As he actually said, step up our game as an upcoming creative entrepreneur. So he's upcoming.
Okay, yeah, but yes, I'm trying to answer the questions from the angle of everywhere is dry first before I answer it as a general thing, like what do I do as an upcoming entrepreneur? Do you understand? So there's something I always say to people, and I tell myself too: before you ever complain that there is no business, ask yourself how much effort you put into business, or how much effort you put into investing in your business. And this is what I mean by that, right? If a week goes by, right? When every week goes by, ask yourself, right? If you are that kind of person that that still requires to get your word out there, and market a lot. Or did I post anything this week? How many clients did I reach out to? How many people did I call? And the last job that I delivered, did I call them to ask for feedback? You understand how the job was? And there are certain things that we take for granted, and we just expect business to always be on the spiral, always churning in, But if you don't put in any effort, and you expect the fact that you are good at what you do, for business to find you where you are, you're making a big mistake. Yeah, some of us have invested a lot of time, a lot of relationship management, a lot of doing free one of clientele base that we have, right? So if half of them drop and half of them are still calling us, perhaps we can survive. But if you have not done anything at all, and if you've not invested this much, right, then start from where you are. All your friends and family kind of like have businesses, right? How many of them have you called on one-on-one and say, hey, I just wondered who does this for you, right? Because I do this, and since we have never done anything together, I just wonder who does this for you, or how you guys do this in your company, right? How many of those kind of calls have you made? How many emails have you sent out? How many things have you done on your social media page, apart from just putting up certain things, that are just on the general? Because everybody these days wants to be an expert in the field that you are not expert in. Just put out your work, right? Let people know you for something. Carve out a niche, then let them from your direct connections, start building a clientele base. After a while, you may need to drop those people and all that, because you have enough engagement to sustain you. But I'm saying put in the work. It's not magic. Do you get, right? There are a lot of people that probably, when you call them and say, who does this for you? They say, it's one big boy that normally collects big money. So you can do it. Oh, let's engage you and let's try you out. Do you understand, right? That's 11. Don't necessarily run for the big fishes. Find your place in your direct network, right? And start from there. Do a lot of marketing. Have a lot of conversation around that. Don't fold your hands. That's what I
All right.
have a say.
Okay, that's beautiful. So I'm going to be getting a response from Mr. Samson, but let's make it as brief as possible so that we can take other questions. We now have a lot of questions. So let's just make our points brief. Mr. Ben, that was a very wonderful one. There's a lot of takeaway from that.
Let me just quickly run through. Mr. Ben, thank you so much. I will not dwell on some of the things you have mentioned. If you are a startup, if you are just starting, the truth is that you are just starting. It won't run on autopilot. You need to do some form of marketing. In your church, they want to do something. You say, I can do it for free, sir. For free means that you need to get yourself out there. Somebody needs to know you. The truth is that all of us has gone through this. During this COVID period, I mean, for about 1 or 2 months, I wasn't doing anything really, except for my previous work that I oh my God. You know, people say work from home is kind of easier. For me, it's more difficult. I resume sometimes 7, sometimes 7:30, and I'm still at work 9, 9:30, sometimes 10. So how do you get to some of our level? Number one, put yourself out there. Market, talk about yourself. Number two, collaborate. There are some of us who have a lot of work now. So for example, now I think I have about 4 to 5 websites. I don't know anybody I can say do it, and it will do it to my taste. For my graphics work, somebody, just one of my clients, sent me 7 lists for tomorrow. Out of those 7 lists, number 2 of that list is having A, B, C to do. You have to look for how to collaborate. Look for people who are a bit higher than you, who get regular jobs, and they're looking for somebody to help them out. I have someone helping me out now, and once I get money, I pay him. That way you are not just waiting and not doing anything. The truth, again, finally, so that I don't waste our time, if you are looking to collaborate and your skill does not match up to the level of what your senior colleague is looking for, it's a problem. If you are supposed to work with Mr. Yemi now, your PHP has to be very, very good. That's the truth. Now you are saying you are not getting a job. Mr. Yemi is looking for somebody who can do this small work so that I can give you the money. And then you don't even know how to write PHP properly. For in my own case, I'm a web designer and a graphic artist together. I have some web jobs now. I can't finish all of them at once. If ask any of my students, ask Demola, I am so detailed with my web design. I will do all the tiny things. Now, if you are not that good, how do I shift some of my money to you? So let me just quickly recap. For a startup, it's not really as easy. You need some time to put yourself out there, market, look for a way to collaborate. If you have senior colleagues who are better than you, who get regular jobs, talk to them. I'm not busy. If you have anything, can you give to me? I will solve it. And then please sharpen your skill. In case you get somebody you want to, who needs your service, like your top boss needs you to get something done, and then your service cannot even match up with that, it may be a problem. So those are just my small addition to what is happening. So, thank you.
All right. Okay, great. So the next question, beautiful questions from Mr. Ben, beautiful response from, did I say questions? Beautiful response from Mr. Ben, beautiful response from Mr. Samson. They are very, very insightful, and I believe that each of the attendees that ask these questions are picking 1 or 2 things, basically. I'm going to move straight to the next question so that we can have things a little bit balanced. So for Olaide, I'm going to be asking this question. What advice do you give someone that just want to get started in the tech space? How do they get started? What advice will you give someone that is just getting started in the tech space, and how do they get started? Why? Because in our attendees, we have some people that are just starting and they need to know, how do I get started? Especially because of the fact that COVID has opened up the tech industry and a lot want to get involved. So how do I get started in the tech space? Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Demola, to get started, because on this call we have the creative people, and then we have tech. And in tech, there's programming and all of that. But I would assume that you're talking about software development here. So for software development, even for software development, there's still like there's still like different categories. So you have to know which one of them you want to delve into. These days, you know, there's web programming, there's mobile programming, there's game development, there's machine learning, artificial intelligence, data science. There's a whole lot of opportunities in software development itself. So you have to identify which path exactly you want to follow. Now, when you have identified that, that would help determine what technologies you should start learning exactly, because you know there are different technologies that are suited specifically for each of these fields. So for example, if you want to venture into web development, you want to look at, maybe you want to start from something like JavaScript, because JavaScript is a language that is simple enough to get you, you know, at least before you start venturing into other languages, it's easy for you to get started with it. Like basic JavaScript helps you understand like programming logic, basically. So you use that to learn programming itself, to learn the logic of programming itself. And then if after you're done with that, you can now decide, I'm sure you have heard of other languages, you can now decide if you want to switch, you know, to using other languages, or you just want to explore. If you want to venture into something like data science, for instance, you would be looking at Python. Python or R as languages that are used these days for machine learning, for data science. So you want to start with something like Python that will help you understand programming logic as well before you start building on top of that. If you want to venture into mobile development, say Android, you have to look at a programming language like Java, and then Kotlin, text for different domains. So it totally depends on the particular domain you want to venture in. Even if you the domain you want to do, there are just some basic things you can. Even if you start with something like JavaScript, it gives you an understanding of programming logic, basically. So it gives you like a foundation that you can build on, because even JavaScript has like frameworks that are built on it that you now go on to learn later. But there's just, you know, there's what we call vanilla that you have to learn. Yeah.
Fantastic. Olaide, it's a good thing that you mentioned JavaScript. Sorry for cutting you short. So let me just use that opportunity to ask my second question before I take another question from the group. In JavaScript, because you've mentioned JavaScript as one of the good programming languages to start with, because it helps you understand the logic of programming. But in JavaScript, as software developers, we hear so many things about JavaScript. You hear JavaScript, Angular, React, Node.js, Vue.js. I'm confused. A lot of people are confused. So please, can you just elaborate on these various frameworks and libraries so that people can know what the differences are and where they should get started with before we go to the next question?
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's very interesting. Now, the reason why we have all those other JavaScript itself is a language that can be used for many different things. You know, you can use there's the server side development, there's front end development, and all of that. You can also use JavaScript for even developing mobile applications. So people have come up with a way to modify they build on the plain JavaScript, which plain JavaScript is what we call vanilla JavaScript. So people have built on vanilla JavaScript to make it suitable, to make it easier to build for other platforms. So if you want to build front end stuff now, like you want to work on the front end like UI, people with frameworks built on JavaScript that you can use that will make it easier for you to do development. If you want to work on the back end, there's Node, which has been built. It's also a JavaScript framework that's been built for you to be able to work on a server side. Node is what makes it possible to work in server environment, because JavaScript is a web language, basically. So in order for you to build outside of the web, you need something on top of that, which is what Node is. So now for front end, there are now different frameworks that you can choose based on your preferences. Different people will just, come up with different, different organizations. Like Facebook owns React, Google owns Angular. Different organizations will build something suitable for them. So now you can, based on the characteristics of these languages, you can choose which one you want to be. At the end of the day, they achieve the same thing, but it's mostly based on preference. So there's Vue, there's Angular, and there's React. All three frameworks are used for front-end development. They achieve the same thing at the end of the day, but it now boils down to you, your preference as a software developer, which one you want to choose. But if you want to build something like mobile, we have React Native, which is suited for, is also a JavaScript framework, is suited for mobile development. So these frameworks are built on top of actual JavaScript just to make it easy to build in different environments. So that's basically what they are. But once you understand JavaScript in itself, it is easy for you to now use these frameworks because they were built off JavaScript.
All right, beautiful. Thank you so much. So I believe that for the tech guys here, even for the creative people, you are learning one or two things of how you can get started in JavaScript. That was a beautiful one so far. Mr. Mark, I'm going to be asking you a question shortly. But before I go there, let me take one of the questions that we have on the group. So the question says, I'm going to take an interesting one before I take this other one. And this goes to you, Mr. Ben. It says that, Mr. Ben, what is your advice on moving from singlehood to marriage as a creative entrepreneur? What is your advice on moving from singlehood to marriage as a creative entrepreneur? Please, let's make it as brief as possible because we're now beginning to have many questions, but that's an interesting one. Thank you so much. Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Yes, we can hear you, sir.
I can't hear. What happened? Good.
We can hear you.
I actually switched from my phone to my system, so I don't know. So I can't hear anything, but Demola, wave if you can hear me so that I just go straight to the point. Oh, okay, fine. When you said that you could ask any questions, I didn't see that one coming. All right. So you say, how can you, please take it again, how can you move from singlehood to be married as a creative entrepreneur, right? Okay. You just find somebody and marry now. Does your position or your job,
I think his point is, I think his point is that, as creative entrepreneur, we spend a lot of time on our laptop.
Yeah, I think I've seen. Well, you said something.
Yeah, so I think as creative entrepreneurs, we spend a lot of time on our laptop. You understand? So what do we look for? What do we look for
to come from that
who
angle.
to get married to?
Okay. Well, this is a very dicey one, right? And this is a very funny question, but it's also a very important one, right? Because I will tell you experience from my own life, right? I didn't used to go to bed. I used to sleep off. There's a difference. There's a difference between, okay, I have finished, now I'm going to sleep. And I slept off on my system and I woke up. Why? Because we used to walk around the clock. I know clients that called me and said, but Ben, this is not how we used to work before. I said, but things have changed now. That was like how many years back? 10 years back. Expect me to be working on the same level, which immediately, of course, suggests to us that we will not always have all the time and the energy to work in the way that we work, right? So yes, while you are, that's why it's not a smart move as a creative person, because usually creative and tech people, they spend a lot of time working. They invest a lot of time. Why? Because there's hardly you can hardly put a time slot to creative stuff. I can't say I will get the design out in 1 hour, right? In 1 hour, you could still be blank. Do you get? I could build this website in a day, but in a day you could just have one or two things that you are still battling with and trying. So yes, it's pretty much, even if you try to optimize our process and make sure that we get things out at a particular time. We know that we have the challenge of always having to work. Shortly after I got married, right? It took me time to be able to make that adjustment. My wife had to report to several people. So anytime we are talking to maybe somebody we're accountable or somebody that is much older than us, or say, how are you guys been? How has things been? And she would just go, he doesn't have time, That's why he's always on the system. He's always this, he's always that, he's always, And well, at first I was ignoring it, but later on I had to pay attention to it if I wanted to have a sane mind and if I wanted to live long, So I started understanding how to structure my time, right, and how to pay attention to the things that mattered to my spouse, right, because it's not all about business. Family is always supposed to be first. So if you're actually trying to make that transition and you're wondering how to change your lifestyle, right, to be able to accommodate the institutions, is that you don't wait until you get married to start making the adjustments. Start making the adjustment now. Try to structure that time. If you're getting married, you will not get married when you meet somebody. You will definitely court the person for a while, isn't it? Right? So while you are at that stage, right, to get to understand yourself, get to understand how to maximize your time. When you get home, rather than go on your system, say, okay, let me assume I'm married. I'm going to spend the next few minutes or hours talking with this person, and let's get to know each other. Let me put work aside. So you need to start training yourself, and start creating those disciplines before you get married, so that when you get married, it's actually a habit that you just flow in and you just enjoy. There's no one size fits all rule, but I think you just need to learn, what your spouse likes and manage your time effectively. That's what I think.
All right, okay, really. Beautiful. So Mark wants to respond to that. Mr. Mark, over to you, sir.
Yeah, so I hope you guys can hear me. I'm gonna put on my camera shortly. Put it off. So I've known Ben for a long time. So the question he answered, you've gotten married. I think that's how we responded. But I think the person was asking, like, how do you find a partner?
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
So I'm going to talk about a person I know, right? And I'll just tell you how he. Okay, my daughter just said I should use my voice. Okay. And then so I have a friend way back in school. He's a creative too, and he's always shuttling school Lagos, right? And he was very fortunate to have found love early, right? So he found this person early enough, and that was what actually helped him. If he had not found this person at that time, and he continued in that, routine of shuttling school, Lagos, prints, work, jobs here and there and stuff, I don't think he would have found love. I don't think he would have been married by now, right? Maybe he would still be catching himself falling asleep on his laptop, right? But because he found love early, right? I think that's why things have, progressed the way they have.
And so he's Mr. Ben.
Well, I've not mentioned any names. Right? But to be honest, right? I think to answer that person's question, you can't find love sitting on your computer unless you're going to go be hitting on people's DMs, hitting on people's DMs and say, hey, how you doing? How many retweets to go on a date with you and stuff like that. You probably have to go out. So it's unfortunate now that, the whole COVID thing has hit us. You can hardly go to places to meet people. Even if you go to church now, you still see it at a lunch distance now. Like, so you probably, it's going to be harder now. And then just be true to yourself, and then what works for one person might not necessarily work for you. So don't think that if you hit all the DMs that, somebody would eventually respond, right? And then we don't even know if you have the patience to actually try, hitting on so many DMs and stuff like that. But basically, that's the story of my friend, and then my 2 cents with regards to that.
All right. All right. Basically, that's a beautiful. Mr. Samson, do you have something to say to that? I can see you smiling.
I'm supposed to say anything to that. We may not end this session.
Okay.
If you notice that I private chat you, that you may have to do this again because 1 hour is not enough. But I will just quickly chip in. How do you get to meet somebody you marry as a creative person? Obviously, because we spend too much time in front of the PC.
Yes.
So I met my wife in a place where I was working. She was I was in a pre-press company that time, and she was a marketer of another company. So she would just usually come around. You don't need to look too far. I don't know why I'm saying this. It may just be your church or your neighborhood or your office. You see any lady around you that aligns with your vision, Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. If you just sit around you and she does not align with your vision, you will be, look, it's going to be a complete mess. And my wife was just even telling me, because I had to put it off for us to talk about it a bit. And she was saying, look, every time I even met you, every time I visited you, truly, you are actually in front of the system.
Yes.
I have yet back to my first son before I started reducing that thing. Mr. Ben was on point. I was just home one day and I realized that my son never relates with me. And it was just like, oh, okay, you need to watch it. And from that time, I now have my proper family time. If you call me to work, I will say I will do it. I will not do it. I must observe that time. So how do you get somebody you need to marry as a creative person? Look around you. You may be lucky to find somebody who will understand that this person is a creative person, is a developer. Look, he will not eat if he's not in front of the computer. So the person already understands. And with time, you have to adjust. That's the truth. So I think we need to do it again.
All right, guys. All right, guys. So most likely we definitely have to have this Ace Unscripted again, because we have not even exhausted our time. So what I would just appeal to everybody is that can we just have 30 more minutes? By 7:30, I will be ending this, whatever the questions are. So because there's 1 or 2 questions, I'm seeing a lot of people chatting that I like this, I think I need this, I think I need this and all that. So there's some other questions I want us to touch, but I promise you by 7:30, we're going to cut this off wherever we are. And the reason why I just want to add 30 more minutes is that I don't want it to feel as though some people that ask questions, their questions were not treated. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? So I'm just going to ask some few questions by 7:30. Once it's 7:25, I'll start the final words basically. So please give us more time. Let's just take some other people's questions that we have here basically. So that was a beautiful one, how to move from singlehood and all that. But I believe that, like I said, this was created for in the community. So subsequently, at various intervals, various time of the year, we will be having sessions like this. So once you see Ace Unscripted out, get ready to come and ask these people powerful questions. They will be ready to answer you. All right, so this is Mr. This is Mr. Eric Bodmas from Bielsa, and he's asking Mr. Ben this question. So Mr. Eric from Bielsa is saying that my question goes to Mr. Ben. Thank you, sir, for that introduction. No doubt, COVID has affected business in the creative industry. What do you think going forward will be the new normal? And how do we stay relevant in the creative industry? So he's saying that thanks for the introduction that you just gave. No doubt, COVID has affected the creative industry. What do you think going forward will be the new normal? And how can we stay relevant in the creative industry? That's from Mr. Eric from Bielsa. Hi, Mr. Eric. Good to have you from Bielsa, all the way from Bielsa. Great to have you, sir. All right. Mr. Ben, that's for you.
Right. Okay, very quickly, I'll say something very little and I'll give opportunity to the other panelists to add to it. The new normal is very relative, from what I said from the very beginning, right? But if there's anything that you need to understand about the new normal, right, is the fact that there is going to be high demand for more, what will I call it now? For more problem solvers, right? There's going to be more, like Yemi said, it's not going to be business as usual. Before you can sit in an office and get paid, right? Before you can do anything and send to the clients and they take it. Right now, the creative space is a little saturated, right? It has always been anyway, but you have more players coming in. Well, because it's one of the businesses that is not regulated and everybody can come you know, and on a level playing ground. You know, so you're going to have a lot of people demand for high quality stuff. You get, you know, it's not, you can't put up anything and it flies. You know, before you could just do something and send and you get paid for it and it's okay, right? So what's the new normal now, right? You will send in options, you know, and it has to be very good. It has to be very professional. It has to be competitive. It has to be something that will help your client to be able to compete in the space that is already saturated. Do you understand? So what do we need to do going forward, right? I'll just say two things. Number one, you need to up your game, right? You need to up your game. You can't do business as usual. And secondly, you need to, apart from up your game in the space that you are known for, you need to add value in other areas, you know. So if you a web designer, right, you should understand that, you know, being a web designer is not enough, right? You need to solve other problems that are related, you know, to the creative space where web is concerned, right? You need to also expand, you know, your knowledge base to be able to bigger problems for this end, you know, so that, you know, your value, you know, increases where that client is concerned. I have people that I'm doing a whole lot of things for today that before now my business never did, you know, we are never known to do that, right? But because, you know, I took on certain challenges to do more, right, than we usually do. Right now, we have people paying us for certain things that they will never have paid us for. So that's a new normal, and that's what I think you should do. Let me allow other people to say something.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Sorry. For our attendees, if you want to ask the panelists questions personally, just raise up your hands. So there's an opportunity for you to raise up your hand. Once you raise up your hand, I would allow you ask questions. I would allow you ask questions directly. All right. So we have Mr. Bello has raised up his hands. So because we have 30 more minutes, I'm going to be allowing public questions, basically. So we have Mr. Bello, Olaide. So I'm going to allow you to talk right now. So Mr. Bello, you can ask a question.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, actually, my question goes to Mr. Samson.
All right.
Okay, sir. Actually, my question is, as a creative person, it's always hard to get a niche because everyone wants you to do different type of things for them. So how do you try to con out your own niche and get known as a creative person?
All right, Mr. Samson, that's for you.
I'm trying to understand the question, but you are trying to carve your own niche. First of all, have your own style. Have your own style, you know, and build on it. Let people know that this is your own style. For example, see, I see a lot of artists, people with different type of skills. I'll pick one person that is kind of popular to most of us. Caesar. Caesar is popular and it's quite good. I see some of the things he does. He does this, what do you call it, composition and, you know.
Manipulation.
Thank you. I'm not that type of person. I can't sit down and just be doing poster and see I'm doing tutorial. Understand who you are. I'm never going to have that type of time. All right? Understand who you are and start building on that type of skill. After some time, people will know this is this person. If you want to solve this type of problem, this is the person that will solve. If you give me movie poster, believe me, I may not do as much as Caesar would do. I've seen some of his work. The guy is very good, very creative. He spends time doing things like that. He has said it before. He said he likes the time he doesn't even have a job. That he wants to explore and practice and practice. Maybe I'm not like that. Understand who you are and build your own type of skill. I'm sure we all know Rex Poster. Rex Poster, if you ask him to do maybe brochure, the guy may fail. You understand? Understand where you have the best of advantage and leverage it. Make it difficult for other people to beat you. That's a small I can say.
All right. Okay. Beautiful. So beautiful. That's a great one. So find what you have strength in and capitalize basically on it to build a niche. Okay. Beautiful. So if you have another question, please, that you want to ask if you have another question that you want to ask, please just raise up your hand. Once you raise up your hand, we are going to open up the floor for you like we just did for Mr. Olaide. All right, so Mr. Enahoro is asking a question, but before I ask Mr. Enahoro a question, I'm going to ask Mr. Mark Mr. Mark, there's a question for you, which is one of the icebreakers. How do you think a tech entrepreneur can manage his work-life balance? And I believe this also goes to the creative entrepreneur, Mr. Mark. How do you believe a tech entrepreneur can manage his work-life balance? Now, most tech entrepreneurs, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., they're always awake. Are you getting me now? Olaide is one of them. I can say that categorically. You understand what I'm saying right now? She's one of them. 2 a.m., 3 a.m. If you call Olaide by 8, 9, 10, she will not pick up your call because she worked overnight. You understand what I'm saying right now? So she's laughing. So she's always working overnight. And some of the clients that Andela has are foreign clients. So they're usually having Zoom meetings and all that. So Mark, please, how can a creative entrepreneur have a work-life balance? You understand, of how to balance work and life, basically. What's your answer to that, sir?
So first off, let me talk about the folks that have clients that we don't share the same time zones, right? If we don't share the same time zone, did you guys just hear that? How are you, Johnny? Okay. So for those that don't have the same time zones, I don't know if this will apply, right? Because you have to be awake when they're awake, right? So I don't know if this will apply. So back in the day, I realized that I was always like that. I get back home and I'm still on my laptop. I'm trying to fix one or two things, you know. Weekends, I'm still writing code. I'm doing a lot of stuff. And I just realized that, see, it was me, my laptop, and then, you know, the other compulsory places that I have to get to, maybe church and somewhere else, right? Until I got to understand that, you know what, this code is not going to run away. If it will work, it will work. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. You need help. You need to find someone that's going to actually help you get it to work. There's a certain level of discipline you need to have to be able to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to actually ask for help versus I'm going to kill myself there and try to figure this thing out overnight. One of the things I also learned after dreaming about code several nights, right? You get back home from work and you realize that in your dream, you are still writing code. Like, no, that something has to change. Like, it can't be like that. It can't continue. I should have a different kind of dream versus work, you know. And then I just realized that, you know what, if I continue this way, I'll probably be so immersed in work and not have time for anything. So I made it deliberate for myself to always close the laptop. Like, I'm done for today. You know what? I'm actually done. I'm closing this and I'm going to go and sleep. And there are times where, like, you know, I close it and I'm going out. Just go out. Even if I don't have anywhere to go out. Okay, I'm going to read this. So even if I don't have anywhere to go to, I still close the laptop and just chill. Okay, sorry, but I want them to hear me. So that's part of work-life balance too.
Mark's daughter is also getting involved in our conversation. All right, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be allowing one more person's question. So please, participants, some questions are being posted on the Q&A section. So can you just take time, Mr. Ben and Mr. Samson, especially because they are more creative questions, can you chat and respond to them? So even if we cannot take them, you understand, we can round up this session. So Mr. Ben and Mr. Samson, please respond. Olaide too, you can also respond. We have some creative questions there. So just chat to respond to them. You understand what I'm saying right now? So that even if we cannot answer them publicly, you can also private chat them to basically answer them. So please, let's do that. So I'm going to be allowing Mr. Okpe Oluwa. I don't know if he's still online. He was raising up his hand just now. Mr. Okpe, where are you? Your hand was up shortly. Mr. Okpe, please, can you, okay, so we have him. So I'm going to allow you to talk right now. So Mr. Okpe, what's your question, please? You can unmute.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, stars and Mars.
Good evening.
I'm a little bit tensed, but this question is very, very important, and I need to ask it. It's going to benefit everybody. It's concerning the aspect of health, and this is it cross across the tech and both the creative. As a creative person, and you know, I want to go to an extreme length, but each time, sometimes I get this eye problem, like the eye, my eyes start paining me, and you know, it's kind of discouraged me, and I cannot go to that kind of length. So, as I'm asking the house, based on experience, what can I do concerning this eye, and I don't want to get a glass.
Yeah.
And it's because of my time on the
screen, your screen time.
On screen, yes, exactly.
Your screen time.
So, and I want all of us. I want every one of us to start, taking our health seriously, because I work in the health sector, but I don't really know. I need your help. I don't know what to do concerning this, because I know you guys are more experienced than me. So I want to hear from you.
All right, panelists, who wants to answer that question?
Can I ask you a question? Have you checked the eye out? Have you gone to an optician? Have you gone to complain, about the eye?
No, because I'm scared they might give me glasses.
So are you scared?
Because I don't want to use glasses.
It's like knowing the solution to a problem, but because of fear, of embracing the solution, you don't want to confront it. That's exactly what you're saying, right? Wearing glasses is not a bad thing, right? In fact, let me even tell you something about wearing glasses. The more you run away from from the idea of wearing glasses, the more you're destroying your eyes. Do you understand? Because if you actually go and see an optician, sometimes they tell you, why didn't you come earlier? You'd have come a couple of years, would have given you glasses that would have been corrective. But now, it may not be corrective, we may just give you something to use. Do you get? Now, the eyes have nerves, right? And anytime you are straining them, right, it affects, in fact, your entire body. My wife had a similar experience recently. And they had to give us something. After a while, they had to give us something stronger, because they felt, that the work that the eye does is too much for the eyes. So it's actually going to be affecting your creativity. It's going to be affecting your focus. It's going to be affecting your stability as a person. So I think you're running away from what the solution is. If you need to go check it out and they need to give you some, ask those people that use glasses. When they use glasses for the first time, they'll realize how blind they've been. Like, so I've been this blind. God, is this how people see? Do you understand? And you will not realize, that you're actually denying yourself of some very, very incredible benefits by not going to check the eye out. So my simple advice is go check it out.
All right. Okay. Then also as regards screen time, you can give yourself breaks. So for someone like me, whenever I sit down and work on the system, I have back pain. When I do 2-3 hours stretch. So what I do is like my home office, even in the office, they know I take time out. So you can take time out when you work 2-3 hours to stretch, or you can take time out. Once I do 3 hours, my back starts aching. So I have to lie down on the bed for some few hours, then I get back. So you might need to also have time out. But above all, first go and see an optician. It happens to the best of us. Your eye just start aching you. But one thing is that over time, once you start working over time, your eye gets used to the screen. But please, for some people it's 1 hour, for some people it's 2 hours, for some people it's 3 hours. Once it's 2 or 3 hours, you either get up to take a stretch, get up. Mr. Samson used to do exercise because there was time we used to work together. Yeah, some exercise he used to do to get better. I have to lie down on a flat, hard surface. So my back can align back before I get better too. But above all, go and see an optician is very, very what's important.
Can I say a few things too about
Yemi?
that?
Yemi?
Yeah. So especially if you are in tech and you write code a lot, please use dark mode on everything. Every possible, use dark mode, because that's really going to help your eyes. You shouldn't be staring at bright screens for long periods, and that's going to eventually, after a long period, it's going to affect, if possible, your browser. If you look at if you open Google on my browser, it's black. Everything is black. There's an extension on Chrome called Dark Reader. Sometimes, especially when I'm working at night, I use Dark Reader. So all the websites I open are black, because your eyes are going to get strained if you keep staring at bright lights all day. So you need to really, really try to use dark as much as possible on all your devices if possible. So because you are not, I want to say you are not normal. You are different from the normal people, because they use 2-3 hours on looking at screens. You use 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, 18 hours sometimes, as the case may be. So you need to take special precautions for your eyes. Then another thing I would say is that posture matters. I was fortunate to learn about good work posture early on. So that's something that is like a rule for me. You rarely find me lying down to work. I see a lot of people, do like this, carry laptop like this, do like this, and they're working. All those things are going to damage your body eventually. So as much as possible, I know it might not be convenient, but that's something for the past 15 years or so, I've never been in a place where I don't have a table and chair where I work. I have a table and chair. If possible, get an ergonomic chair that you can adjust. Do you understand? Because that's going to help you to keep your eyes away from the screen. But when you're lying down, you're like this. That's how many coders are doing like this to work. Don't do that. Sit down, get a table, get a chair. What you are going to get used to it, and then you will see that you work 15 years and you don't have any problems. And that's because you have your practices. Those practices are very important. Your screen time, the color of your screen, dim your screen, don't let it be too bright. You understand? So all those things matter. There are little things, but on the long run, they count. That's what I've come to see. Because, a lot of people that got into coding in a few years, if just like Mr. Ben said earlier on, if you need to take it, whether you are a programmer or a tech person or not, if you need to check your eyes, you need to check your eyes. People that are not even looking at screens, that's different. You understand? So, but if but you need to ensure that you get used to practices that help you maintain health, a good health in terms of how you work. I've seen people come into programming or into coding 2-3 years and they're already saying my eyes, and they'll be saying, how come you have been doing this thing for 7 years and you don't seem to have any problem? I'm like, I don't know, but I'll just tell you what I do. You understand? So that's why I just wanted to chip that in. That's why I would say dark mode and posture. Very, very important.
All right, thank you. So we'll need to round up right now because it's almost 7:30.
Reduce the screen resolution. Brightness, I mean.
Screen brightness. Reduce your screen
brightness. Now and you'll be fine. Thank you.
All right, so now this is the last question we're going to take. Then I'm going to allow our facilitators to round up, right? I'm going to be taking Osaro Kesentin right now. Then I'll allow our facilitators to round up. So Osaro, we're allowing you to talk, to ask questions. Osaro, you have the floor.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for this class, sir. I'm really, really honored and really exciting. I have a question. Thank you, sir, Mr. Samson, for answering my question on branding. I'm really grateful, sir. The question I also want to ask again is, how can we use branding to help influence our client's business? I've been hearing people say branding, and most times people limit it to just brand identity. But in a place like Nigeria, especially Nigeria, how can you use branding to really help influence some startups? How can they actually make that income? That's most times like word of mouth and the rest. But how can you use branding? Because most of them I've talked to and I was asking them, what's your vision and the rest? Some don't really know, but they just when we finish talking, they just bring up some things. But how can we use branding to really help influence their business? Because lots of people say, let's help build your brand online. But I'm seeing mock-ups of business cards and the rest. And I really feel hot because I'm limited to how I can defend how branding can help influence their business. But also, I really want to know, how can we use branding to really help influence our clients' business? That they will know, that they should know that it's no longer mock-up or business card or the rest, and people call it branding or 1 or 2 flyers. How can we use branding to influence people's business?
All right, Thank you, sir. Mr. Ben wants to answer that question.
Mr. Ben should solve it. It's a brand.
All right. I love the question you just asked because it's actually a very big growing concern. In fact, I'm tired of the word branding because everybody puts up branding as a service line, right? We do branding, we do branding, I'm like, I was interviewing a graphic artist, one-on-one interview some time ago, and I would ask a simple question about, tell me about yourself, and you answer by saying 10 things on branding. I got tired. I said, okay, let me take you up on branding. And I asked him 3 questions on branding and he could not answer one, right? Now, the thing here is that a lot of people confuse branding, mix branding with identity, right? Brand identity is different from branding, right? So let me tell you what the problem is, right? Because call card, letterhead, mock-ups, is not branding, and that's why you cannot defend using that to solve the client's problem, right? Branding is focused more on experience than it is focused more on identity. Do you understand, right? You don't if there's something I wanted to work on and put up, maybe I'll still put it up the sign on my page later on. I designed something like we designed a bottle of Sniper, right? And we redesigned it to have colors. In fact, maybe we dropped in an apple flavor, or apple whatever, or pineapple whatever, but with the name still remain Sniper. So the question is, if you see that kind of bottle, right? And you see a glass cup with it, and you see and somebody makes it beautiful, will you drink it? The answer is no. You understand? Why? Because the thoughts you have about Sniper cannot change despite the fact that the identity of Sniper changed. With the thing called Sniper is death. Death, that's what rings in your head. Whether it's death of cockroaches and ants or death of people when it is abused and taken as a suicide means, it's death that you think about, right? That's what comes to your mind when it comes to Sniper. So irrespective of what I do to the identity of Sniper, the experience, that people have with Sniper remains the same. So we don't focus on, branding is not about the focus on identity. Branding is focusing on experience. I tell people, if we do branding for you and your sales don't double up, then we didn't do a good job. Do you understand? So when you're actually, that's why if you're doing branding, it's actually design thinking you're doing, right? You're doing design thinking where you're thinking about how can we make this better? What's the company about? What's the company doing right now? What are they doing wrong? What are we doing better? What can we optimize? Then you integrate that into your back end, and you start designing certain solutions for them. So it determines the direction of your design. It doesn't, in fact, the way I put it is this: if identity, right, will not create better experience, then identity is not important in branding. Do you understand? So, yeah, so if, I like people to answer that, right, or in a nutshell, to answer that, if you want to understand branding and if you want to use it to solve customers' problem, focus on experience. What the customer experience is going to be based on the new identity you're trying to create, for the brand. Do you understand? So that's there's a whole lot to answer, but let me just put that there so that it helps your thinking, as regards to other areas of branding.
All right. And also to chip in one or two things, basically, now when it comes to customer experience, you need to understand that when it comes to branding or creating a brand, the visual identity system and the logo is just an aspect of branding. Are you getting me now? Other aspects that involve branding is what we call customer experience, clientele services. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? The action of the brand. We also have a whole lot. So there's a whole lot that makes up what's a brand. So basically, when you see what the products and the services the clients render, your responsibility as a brand professional is how to handle the customer experience from start to finish in relation to the brand. From the way when they walk into the particular clientele, the client's office, the experience, training the staffs on how to dress, how to speak, how to answer phone calls. So branding is holistic. Is beyond just the visual identity system, but it has to do with the end-to-end customer experience, from the website to the logo to the business card to how phone calls are being answered. So when you call a big PR or brand consulting firm to come and handle the branding of a company, they do what we call what's end-to-end, from visual identity systems to customer relations to customer services, even to down to what their processes digitally. So when they handle the whole holistic experience that the clients have, that's how they solve the branding. So it's beyond just and strategy. They also call the communication strategy. So a whole lot of things. So there's a whole lot to it, to branding beyond just what visual and what identity system. basically. So hope we've been able to answer what your questions are. All right, so I think this is where we're going to be stopping today. So please, for those that asked questions in the Q&A section, the facilitators and panelists have answered them one-on-one. Sorry that we could not take them out, take them openly because of the nature of today's meeting. So we're going to be having just our panelists to round up the following session. Thank you so much, everybody, for staying from the beginning to the end. We really appreciate you guys so much. I believe that you've all learned a lot. We definitely have to do this once again, basically, because we couldn't cover a lot. But I assure you that my plan was actually to use 2 hours, but I want to cut it short before 2 hours. So at the beginning of this, because I know question and answers always take time. Now, what inspired this was that we have a conference every November called Drive Conference. And in the last conference, where we had a Q&A section, where we spent over 2 hours answering questions and answers that we had to quickly round up. This year again, by November, we're going to be having another Drive Conference. So get ready on the group. It's going to be an online conference where we're going to be having people coming to come and speak from Paris, from US, from UK. And most of our panelists here are also going to be available for the Drive Conference. So I'm just going to allow the panelists just say 1 or 2 few things shortly, then we will round up the session. But for some of them, I'm going to be asking them questions. A question, they will answer the question and they will round up very briefly because there are some things I wanted us to touch that we could not touch. So I'll start with Olaide. Olaide, as a woman, so you answer the question and you just give your closing remark. Olaide, as a woman in a male-dominated industry, what advice will you give the women on this webinar? We have some women on this webinar. As a woman in a male-dominated industry, tech is dominated by male. What advice will you give women, both in the creative and tech sector, that are on this webinar? We have some women on this webinar, and they are hailing you at the background. So what advice will you give women in this industry?
Okay, so my advice is very simple. It's to focus on your skills and be the best you are. As I have a friend, I would say, let your skills speak louder than your gender. So your gender will not matter when you are good at what you do. Just be good at what you do. Like, if they're looking for somebody for a job.
Like they are hailing you on the chat. You're saying, yes, so women,
as far as you are the best, you are the best for the job, then your gender would not matter. So be the best you can be, and let your skills speak louder than your gender. Basically, be so good that you cannot be ignored. Yeah.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. That's a good closing remark. Now I'm going to move to Mr. Samson because I needed him to answer this question, basically, and it's very important for me. And I want everybody to learn from this. Mr. Samson, I know personally that you have invested in real estate. You invested in real estate as a young creative professional, and you are now reaping the dividends right now. What will you advise creatives? Let me just slam it down. How, as creative, can we build our own house in this industry? Let's not speak too much of grammar. So what I said earlier on was too many grammars. I know personally that you have invested in real estate, and I don't want to go public with some of the things you've done, basically. So let us slam it. How can I, or how can we, or how can all creatives build a house in this industry? Let's use that to close up the session.
Very quickly. Okay, because it's going to be short, let me just say.
Yes, sir.
First of all, understand that you will not have your strength for life. You won't. As you grow old, your strength will start reducing. And then prepare for your old age. I mean, and ask myself, like, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Thank you. So first of all, like I said, understand that your strength will not be there for life. Use your old parent as a good guide for yourself. Ask yourself if you want to be at their level when you are that old. See, I always tell myself, at a particular age, I'm not going to work again. Believe me, and I'm working towards it. People think that is a joke. Every day, I'm working towards it. So how do you work towards your own? Number one, cut down on irrelevant budgets. See, I see creative people like gadget a lot. Demola was with me for a long time. So he will tell you, I'm a terrible gadget freak. I use the latest Samsung phone until one day, and I told myself, look, every phone does almost the same thing. You can call, you can chat, you can video, snap. I don't think there's any other thing on that. So I told myself, look, if you continue like this, you will not hit your targets. So I now set a benchmark for myself. I said, look, I will buy phones, but I will make sure I'm not spending too much on phones, and then immediately use my current energy to build on every of my vision before I get old. Because once you get old, this energy will not be there again. You can't sit down for 10 hours straight. By the time you are like 60, 70, look, you now have to struggle with it. You have to exercise to put your body together. So I will advise you, start on time, find a place where you can afford. The truth is that all of us will not stay in Lekki. All of us will not stay on the mainland. All of us will not stay in Lagos. Find a place where you can afford. If you don't want to stay there, build it and rent it out. Make sure you have something in your name. Because when you grow old, you need to have something to fall back on. Don't forget that at our own time, our parents will send us to university and stuff. Now, I've seen people do it. You send your children to first degree, second degree before you stop. Now, that's some money. My son is in, I think he will be in primary 3 very soon. What he is paying for school fees, when I was in the university, I never paid that amount for any semester till I finished. What that tells me is that when he's in secondary school, I'll be paying far more. When he gets to the university, I'll be paying far more. I need to prepare for all that. I don't want him to get to that level and I'll be chasing house rent, chasing this. So I think that's the small thing I can remember. And I'm supposed to talk about my real estate journey. It's a very, very long one.
Exactly.
But thank you for, I hope people stay focused and start doing things for time. Thank you.
One thing I know about Mr. Samson is that at a very young age, as a creative professional, he has started working on his real estate investments and is reaping the dividends so far. I really don't want to. I really don't want anything public right now, over here right now, basically. But I can categorically say that he's not paying rent as we speak. That's what I can categorically say. So, and at a very young age, I started investing so far. So please, creative professionals, please. The reason why we do business is to make money. Please, if there's anything you should be investing right now, is into what real estate, such that at a very young age, you have built what's your own house and get a real estate company or this real estate scheme that is very legit and start investing towards it. Please, it's very important. Mr. Ben, please, can you give your closing remark? Then we'll now go to Mr. Mark and we'll allow Yemi round up.
All right. Let me say this quickly. I like what Olaide said. If I had to write it down quickly, right? And Mr. Samson has said some things that will make me see him in camera, even after all this. Well, but the truth is this, right? We should think growth. We should think growth. There's a word that you've been using to describe people. You talk about freelancers. You talk about creative entrepreneurs. And let me give you the difference in closing, right? A freelancer is paid for his work, right? A freelancer does his work and is paid for his work. I want to define it based on how you are paid, right? An entrepreneur uses, so a freelancer uses his time to get paid for his own work, right? An entrepreneur uses other people's time, possibly other people's money, to build businesses that are bigger than himself so that he can be paid while he's asleep. And that's the difference, right? So you should think growth and you should think of how to scale from point A to point B, right? If we all started as freelancers, and at some point we realized that we can't keep doing this forever, right? We graduated into business owners, and a business owner is not an entrepreneur, right? And we discovered that we can't do this forever. So think growth, think future, think about the next 10 years, right? And and devise a strategy, and a direction for yourself in terms of your investment of time, invest in your investment in your work, and investment in yourself, right? There are certain things that I would not do personally now. They say, oh, go and take a training in this. I said, no, I'm not going to take a training in this. I will employ somebody for that, right? So the way I think is different, but some people at some level can't think that way. So think growth, think development, think about next level, right? And make the relevant investments. That's what I have to say.
Okay, beautiful. That's a beautiful one. That's a beautiful one. So please, let's all think growth. Whatever level we are right now, in the next 10 years, let's think where we plan to be, and let's think where we want to think, where we want to be even beyond that. So that's why we actually, one of the visions we have in Ace Creative Academy is to have mentors that you guys can see that are doing the things that you wish to see in the next 10, 15 years, and try and model their own business processes and see how to actualize it. Albert Einstein once says that we're able to get to where we got to by sitting on the shoulders of those that have gone ahead of us. Now, what this enabled us to do is that we don't make the mistake they make, and we can see even beyond what they can see. All right, Mr. Mark, please, can we get to your closing remark? Then we go to Mr. Yemi, then we round up. Mr. Mark?
Okay, so, wow, I'm really not sure what to say.
To top up what they've all said, Abby. To top up what everybody has said, I mean,
like a lot.
What do you want to say?
Like a lot
again?
of wisdom, just going to and fro in the room, and then I'm expected to come up and say something. While,
and to top that,
and to top that, but I'm going to try and shoot myself in the foot, man. Okay, so but basically, I'll just talk about maintaining balance, right? It's a very difficult thing, but at some point it requires a lot of discipline. So when my daughter was really little, I still used to come back home and write code sometimes, maybe because it was important and stuff like that. But then again, if I had to give up time for them, I make sure I give up time for them, right? Right now you can hear some music playing on the background. That's her with my phone, playing, watching cartoons and stuff. So the phone is dedicated to her while she requests for it. It's a sacrifice that I'm willing to pay. We write code together sometimes. She's right in front of the laptop, my hands are in front of her, and I'm doing whatever I have to do, just because I know that if I don't do that, then, it's either I don't get the work done, and then, she takes over completely or something, but I have to give her attention. So the way it works is I have to give her attention such that she believes she's getting all the attention. Okay. Right.
You're disturbing her.
Yeah. I'm not to reduce the volume of the to the people that right. So just give it whatever attention you need to give it. Be disciplined about it, and then just apportion that time for it. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's a good one, Mr. Mark.
That was me ending it. Yeah. Demola, you appear frozen.
Demola is frozen?
Yeah, sorry, my network is acting
back up now.
My network is acting up. I apologize for that. All right, Mr. Yemi, so can we have your final remark so that we can round up this session?
I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure all the participants have also learned a lot. If I want to change my life several years ago, because as creative and tech people, we tend to focus on our core skills like programming or design or graphics and all of that. But there are a lot of things that we can introduce into our lives that will really help us on the long run and also make the difference. So, for example, one important thing is planning your time, planning your day, having a proper schedule for how you want to do things. I started doing it several years ago, and a lot of people sometimes are surprised at how I can be organized. And when you are dealing with your clients or your coworkers or your colleagues or people you work with, being organized is very important. So that's something you should pay attention to if you're starting out. You need to be organized. If you need to get a tool, a calendar, Demola knows I use Remember the Milk. I swear by I can swear by Remember the Milk because it's my life. When I wake up in the morning, I open Remember the Milk, And there, I already see the things that I'm going to do in the day. I can plan the next. If you ask me now, oh yeah, can we see on Wednesday? I often remember the mail because I Wednesday I see if I have a meeting for Wednesday. I see what I have to do for Wednesday. I'm working on 4 or 5 projects at the same time. I've spread them out across the week. Organizing your time is very important. It's going to help you. It will make it will be as if you are doing magic because everything will fall into place. So apart from something that plans your daily calendar, you can also get something that also plans your work, like collaboration tools, tools that help you to organize, like Trello, like for example, I use Trello for my work. So these tools are very important. If you bring those tools into your life, it makes it easy for you to plan and get so that you can get more done. You start to do more in a day than you used to do before. You'll achieve more when you start to plan and organize the way you work. So that's something that for people that are starting out, you should start to incorporate it into what you do right now. If you want to do something, write it down. I want to do this and this and this today, this week. Plan. Have a plan for your week. Have a plan for your day. Have a plan for your month. Have a plan for your year. For the next 5 years, for the next 10 years. It's going to really make your life easy on the long run. Then the second part also is accounting. You know, as creatives and tech people, we tend to just make money and spend it. So if you ask them, Demola mentioned something, said people can ask how much did you make last month. There are many creative and tech people, if you ask them, they don't have the answer. How much did you spend on calls last month? They don't know. You know, so start from your personal expenses, record everything, your income, record it. Get an app. Everything is easy now because there's an app for everything. So get an app and just record every expense and record every income. You will see that at the end of the month, you can put it out. And then when you now start to combine in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you now start to see data that's going to help you to plan for the future. You start to see data that will help you price your jobs better. You will now know how much your time is really worth. And you know, people are asking, how do I bill? You know how you will bill. When you have been taking record of your expenses and your income for the past 1 year, then you now know 1,000, whether it should be 200 or 300 or 500 or 1 million. Or if you do it for 1 million and you do it in 1 month, whether it's really worth it. Or if you spread it over 3 months, whether it's worth it. You understand? So those two things are very important. Planning, counting your money, count your money properly, how it comes in and how it goes out. So that's my takeaway.
All right, thank you very much. So thank you very much one more time, everybody, for your time. I really want to thank and appreciate the panelists for taking their time out to come and impact their years of wisdom. Trust me, all the information that they're giving us here are valuable. They are very, very, very valuable. I also keep accounts, and sincerely speaking, a lot of us don't know how much go through us. When I saw how much has been going through me in recent years, I screamed. And you get to what I'm saying right now. So please, accountability is very important. Myself and Yemi, we share a mentor that what it teaches us all the time that we go and meet him is what is our account saying. One of the mentors that we share. So please, accountability is very, very, very important and very crucial. So I hope you've learned a lot. This was designed basically was for people in the Ace Creative community. And we have a Telegram group and a WhatsApp group. So please, for everybody that is here today, please Google them on social media. You can see Samson, Egbedele, Edomwande, Olaide, Agboola, Enahoro, Yemi. Please Google them on social media, follow them on social media. You can DM them personally if you have any other question. We are placing them here so that they can mentor you and guide you. Once you say you're from Ace Creative Academy, they are open to answer you because these people are actually partners and administrators and even owners of the academy, you understand, but they're always more behind the scene. Are you getting me now? So they are always committed to attend to you. So please, if you have any further question, you can DM them personally. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? But even though they don't answer you, they are actually very busy people. Please ensure that what you communicate with them and they will guide you. Please ensure that what you search them on social media. Yemi Tula is the CEO and founder of Tulabyte Solution. Kev, please put that on the group, Tulabyte Solution. You can Google them. Enahoro is Enbelo. You can Google them, enbelo.com. Mr. Samson is Nextlayers. You can Google him. Well, Olaide works for Andela, so you have to follow our social media, basically. Then Mr. Mark also works for a company. He's a programmer in a company, so you might also have to also follow him. on various social media platforms. Thank you for your time. Please ensure that once you leave this session, you go to the WhatsApp or Telegram group for those of us that those are in our community and share with people what you've learned today. Just let's continue the conversation on the Telegram group and on the WhatsApp group. Share all the things you've learned. I promise you that we're going to be having more sessions like this so that people can ask more questions. This time, we might not leave it in the community alone. We might do more social media publicity for it. Thank you so very much for our time. Please, let's all say thank you on the chat for all our facilitators. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. God bless you. Out of your busy schedule, you created time for us. Olaide, we are saying a big thank you. Mr. Mark, thank you. Ben, thank you. Mr. Samson, Yemi, thank you so much.
Thank you, my pleasure.
All right. So everybody, do have a lovely time. We so people are saying thank you. We had a great time with you people. We would always have more sessions like this in which we are going to be having more conversations to get you better in your industries. So do have a lovely day and have a beautiful week ahead. God bless you all.
All right. Bye.
Bye.